So waiting for new people to come on. We're doing a live. It's going to be probably 1 hour. I doubt it's going to be more than that. But Om Namah Shivaya. That's one of my favorite chants. Om Namah Shivaya, the destroyer of blocks, the destroyer of anything that does not honor you and help you in any way, that prevents you from growing, that prevents you from thriving. And so I'm looking in my library for little snippets of fabulousness to be read to you, and looking for, I've been really, let's get some cards. We're going to do Earth Warriors, Mary of Magdalena, and I've been really digging these Unshakable Inner Peace cards, which are by, hang on, who are they by? They're called Unshakable Inner Peace Oracle Deck by Shannon Kaiser. Okay, so just waiting for people to get on. If you could share the live, that'd be awesome. And we have some things to talk about. One of them is anger, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I know why they're asking me to look at that. Anger. Okay, so anger is something that is toxic when it is unfocused. Anger has its purpose, as a matter of fact. Anger has brought warriors onto a battlefield, and if you've ever seen them, you must have seen it. If you saw Braveheart, you know one of the things warriors would do is beat their swords against their shield to froth themselves into berserkers, into a massive rage, because to overcome the fear. So anger, when it is used with a controlled, way to focus your attention away from fear, change, the unknown, anger can actually get you out of bed. In fact, anger, if I were to choose depression over anger, I would choose anger, because with anger, I can negotiate with anger. I can speak to it. I can guide it in something that's going to be more productive, less destructive. I can talk to anger, but I can't talk to depression. Why? Because depression doesn't give a fuck. Depression just lays its head down and doesn't want to hear it. As a matter of fact, clinical depression, the last thing people who go through lays its head down and doesn't want to hear it. As a matter of fact, clinical depression, the last thing people who go through that, and again, you can correct me if that's not your experience, but true, massive clinical depression is they want silence. As a matter of fact, there's a level of being absolutely catatonic, unable to move in any way. Some people shame other people and call laying in bed rotting, which I don't know why these words are being invented. It's bad enough. Self-loathing is bad enough. We don't need any more help. But I have this book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Taming the Tiger Within. Meditations on Transforming Difficult Emotions by Thich Nhat Hanh. So what I'm hoping to do is throw some oracle decks for you guys, and we're going to get some messages. What I'm hoping to do is throw some oracle decks for you guys, and we're going to get some messages. This morning I did a live on 2025, and I can tell you that the messages were beautiful, very, very potent. So let me messages were beautiful, very, very potent. So let me read to you some quotes, and I think you're going to enjoy these quotes, and it will help you feel compassion when anger arises within you. Compassion for that inner child that wants to be heard, that's dealing with big emotions, that it doesn't know how to articulate. And let's be honest, we don't have all the words for many of the things that we feel. We don't have words that are that encompass these large emotions. Sometimes screaming, going primal is all there is, to be honest. But okay, so let's read. All right. If you allow compassion to spring from your heart, the fire of anger will die right away. If you allow compassion to spring from your heart, the fire of anger will die right away. That is absolutely true as any truth you'll ever hear. If it is your partner who is angry, just listen. Listen and do not react as any truth you'll ever hear. If it is your partner who is angry, just listen. Listen and do not react. Do your best to practice compassionate listening. Do not listen for the purpose of judging, criticizing, or analyzing. Listen only to help the other person express themselves and find some relief. Criticizing or analyzing. Listen only to help the other person express themselves and find some relief from his suffering. Beautiful. There are many ways to communicate, and the best way is to show that you no longer feel any anger or condemnation. You should show that you understand and accept the other person. You communicate this not only by your words, but also by your way of being, with your eyes full of compassion and your actions full of tenderness. When you understand the situation of the other person, when you understand the nature of suffering, anger will vanish because it is transformed into compassion. When you begin to see the suffering in the other person, compassion is born. You are no longer considering the person as your enemy. You can love your enemy. The moment you realize that your so-called enemy suffers and you want to help him stop suffering, he ceases to be your enemy. When we hate someone and are angry at her, it is because we do not understand her or the circumstances she comes from. By practicing deep looking, we realize that if we grew up like her, in her set of circumstances and in her environment, we would be just like her. That kind of understanding removes anger. And suddenly, that person is no longer your enemy. Then you can love her. As long as she remains an enemy, love is impossible. Beautiful. When you touch the seed of understanding, mindfulness, and loving kindness in you, you make these qualities grow stronger for both your own happiness and the happiness of other people and all living beings around you. Don't you love this book? Just these little jewels that just one page at a time, just one jewel after another. Happiness is not an individual matter. If one of you is not happy, it will be impossible for the other person to be happy. Did you get that? Happiness is not an individual matter. If one of you is not happy, it will be impossible for the other person to be happy. This is part 2. It's called No Birth, No Death, From Fear to Love. Should be good. Fear and time. As long as fear is still in you, your happiness cannot be perfect. We cannot enjoy life if we spend a lot of time worrying about what happened yesterday and what will happen tomorrow. We worry about tomorrow because we are afraid. And if we are afraid all the time, we cannot appreciate that we are alive and can be happy now. When you are carried away with your worries, fears, cravings, anger, and desire, you run away from yourself and you lose yourself. Live your life in a way that you never lose yourself. That means don't sell out your dreams. Don't ever sell yourself out for anyone or anything. Anything. If it's meant to be yours, you don't have to sell yourself. Trust in divine timing. If it's meant to be yours, you will have it. Maybe later, but you will have it in the right way, with the right integrity, in protecting your honor. Okay? We wait for the magical moment, sometimes in the future, when everything will be as we want it to be. I need to repeat this because I've seen too many people live for the future. We wait for the magical moment sometimes in the future when everything will be as we want it to be. When I get a score, we'll do this. When this, that happens, it's all conditional. How can you be happy if your life is set on conditional circumstances? And it's not like I don't know what that is, because I've seen people I love the most live for the future. One day when? If this and this happens, then we can do that and this. That's a sad life. Actually, it's not a life. And this happens, then we can do that and this. That's a sad life. Actually, it's not a life. Life is available only in the present moment. Bingo. Please take a pen and a sheet of paper. Okay, go ahead. I'm not kidding. Please take a pen and a sheet of paper. Go to the foot of a tree or to your writing desk and make a list of all of the things that can make you happy right now. The clouds in the sky, the flowers in the garden, the snow, the children playing, the fact that you have met the practice of mindfulness, your beloved ones sitting in the next room, your two eyes in good condition. The list is endless. You have enough already to be happy now. You have enough to no longer be agitated by fear or anger. Beautiful. A child is always able to live in the present moment. Isn't that true? A child is always able to live in the present moment. And year by year, as they go to school, that joy is snuffed out of them, squeezed out of them. Let's be honest. That's where we learn how to stop being in the moment. The child in us is always alive. Maybe we have not had enough time to take care of the child within us. When we live in the present moment, it is possible to live in true happiness. If you can breathe in and out and walk in the spirit of I have arrived, I am home, in the here, in the now, then you will notice that you are becoming more solid and more free immediately. You have established yourself in the present moment at your true address. Nothing can push you to run anymore or make you afraid. You are free from worrying about the past. You are not stuck thinking about what has not happened yet and what you cannot control. You are free from guilt, not stuck thinking about what has not happened yet and what you cannot control. You are free from guilt and what you cannot control. You are free from guilt concerning the past, and you are free from your worries about the future. And that's why chanting is so important. And breathing techniques that can actually, in less than 20 seconds, it's almost like it's like a reset. That's 20 seconds. I swear to God. There's this breathing technique my twin taught me called the train. And you breathe through your nose. You close your mouth and you breathe like the train going to a train station, like really, really fast, and then slowing down, and then breathe. I swear to God, you'll be like a little fast, and then slowing down, and then breathe. I swear to God, you'll be a little dizzy, but you'll feel all this oxygen blast, and your nervous system will be calm as a calm pool of water. It's amazing. You may want to try it. With mindfulness, you are recognized. With mindfulness, you can recognize what is there in the present moment, including the person you love. When you can tell your beloved, darling, I know you are there, and I'm very happy. It proves that you are a free person. It proves that you have mindfulness. You have the capacity to cherish, to appreciate what is happening in the present moment. You are still alive, and the person you love is still there, alive in front of you. The circumstances of our lives can help us water the seeds of patience. The circumstances of our lives can help us water the seeds of patience, generosity, compassion, and love. The people around us can help us water these seeds, and so can the practice of mindfulness. Please remember that your notions of happiness may be very dangerous. The Buddha said happiness can only be possible in the here and now, so go back and examine deeply your notions and ideas of happiness. You may recognize that the conditions of happiness that are already there in your life are enough. Then happiness can be instantly yours. So you have to be enough unto yourself in that moment. And then you can accept yourself. And when you accept enough unto yourself in that moment, and then you can accept yourself. And when you accept yourself, you're in the now. So here's the next chapter 5. Finding refuge, knowing freedom. No fear is the ultimate joy. When you have the insight of no fear, you are free. The Buddha taught that there is no birth, there is no death, there is no coming, there is no going, there is no same, there is no difference, there is no permanent self, there is no annihilation. And if you know that to be true, you'll know you have nothing to lose. There'll be no such thing as permanent mistakes. Every single act in your life will become experiences, not to be regretted, but to be repaired if you can. And if you can't, then to forgive yourself or forgive the other person and forgive yourself. Always forgive yourself. Always forgive others. Our greatest fear is that when we die, we will become nothing. People are very afraid of nothingness. When they hear about emptiness, people are also very afraid. But emptiness just means the extinction of ideas. Emptiness is not the opposite of existence. It is not nothingness or annihilation. The idea of existence has to be removed. So does the idea of non-existence. Interesting. Thank you for the... Has to be removed. So does the idea of non-existence. Interesting. Thank you for the gifts, Beth. When you practice looking deeply, you see your true nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, no coming, no going, no same, no difference. When you see this, you are free from fear. You are free from craving and free from jealousy. Beautiful. To really be free of fear, we must look deeply into the ultimate dimensions of no birth, no death. We need to free ourselves from these ideas that we are our body and that we die. This is where we will discover the place of no fear. When we understand that we cannot be destroyed, we are liberated from fear. This is why you have to become literally fear has to be your ally. Your fear is either, I always say this, fear is either your ally or your jailer. You choose. It's all up to you. And as we go through the ascension, right? And with all this suffering that we have gone through in just the mode of survival, right? In the mundane world of paying bills and taxes and this and that and the other. That kind of suffering actually makes you free because you have nothing to lose. At some point, there's nothing to lose anymore. Only to reach for the stars, reach for something way better. Because now you're almost outraged because you realize that you deserve better, more, a balance. If we're able to touch our ground of no birth and no death, we will have no fear. This is the base of our true happiness. To meditate means to be invited on a journey of looking deeply in order to touch our true nature and to recognize that nothing is lost. We can overcome fear. Non-fear is the greatest gift of meditation. With it, we can overcome our grief and our sorrow. If you have lost someone, and if you have cried so very much, please accept the invitation of the Buddha. Look deeply and recognize that the nature of your beloved is the nature of no birth, no death, no coming, no going. Don't you love him? It is only because of our misunderstanding that we think the person we love no longer exists after they pass away. It is only because of our misunderstanding that we think the person we love no longer exists after they pass away, quote unquote. This is because we are attached to one of the forms. Did you hear that? We are attached to one of the forms, one of the many manifestations of that person. The person we love is still here. He is around us, within us, and smiling at us. It is the form we miss. The way they walk, the way they used to laugh, the tone of their voice, their scent, the way they looked, the winks they gave, and the way their facial expressions and the color of their eyes and their body and the feeling of their body. We miss that form, and that form is impermanent, just like your form is impermanent. That's what's so magical about us. We're like snowflakes. Once we die, there will never be another one like us. Never in this form. Never. Never. There might be somebody that has your mouth, but never your nose. Somebody with your lashes, but not the particular color of your eyes, and certainly not the way you smile. Not that way. Not with that mouth. Never again. That's what's so extraordinary about each incarnation. What is the home of a wave? The home of the wave is all of the other waves, and the home of the wave is water. If the water wave, the home of the wave is all of the other waves, and the home of the wave is water. If the water is capable of touching himself and the other waves very deeply, he will realize that he is made of water. Being aware that he is water, he transcends all discrimination, sorrows, and fear. I'm going to read that again. My ears are ringing. I hear you. I miss your voice, his eyes, his hugs. I hear you, my beautiful. I hear you. 23. You got to be kidding. So I'm going to read it to you again. Lean in and close your eyes. What is the home of a wave? The home of the wave is all the other waves, and the home of the wave is water. If the wave is capable of touching himself and the other waves very deeply, he will realize that he is made of water. Being aware that he is water, he transcends all discrimination, sorrows, and fears. Wow. A person who does not have anything to believe in is without energy. I'm going to say it again. A person who does not have anything to believe in is without energy. When you have the energy of faith in you, your steps become firmer, your look becomes brighter, you're ready to love, to understand, to help, and to work. There are those who are so discouraged that they no longer have the courage to love. Let me repeat that. There are those who are so discouraged that they no longer have the courage to love. They suffer a great deal just because they made an attempt to love and failed. The wounds within them are so deep that it makes them afraid to try again. We are aware of the presence of these people among us, all around us. We have to bring them the message that love is possible. Our world desperately needs love. Faith is the outcome of your life. As faith continues to grow, you continue to get. Faith is the outcome of your life. As faith continues to grow, you continue to get the energy, because faith is also an energy like love. If we look deeply into the nature of our love, we will also see our faith. When we have faith in us, we are no longer afraid of anything. I love it. I just got chills. When you have faith, you have a lot of energy. When you believe in something really good, true, and beautiful, you are very alive. If there is a distinction between true love and the kind of love that can only engender suffering and despair, the same can be said of faith. There is a kind of faith that sustains us and continues faith. There is a kind of faith that sustains us and continues to give us strength and joy. Then there is the kind of faith that may disappear one morning or one evening and leave us completely lonely and lost. Wow. To meditate means to be invited on a journey of looking deeply in order to touch our true nature and to recognize that nothing, did you hear that? That nothing is lost. This is so important, that your meditation practice is never, you should never tell anyone that the last time you meditated was 6 months ago. That should never be part of your reality. Never. You should say, you know what? Every once in a blue moon, I'll miss a day, but I never miss two. Never. And that is a pact you give yourself. I can't give it to you. You have to give it to yourself. The amount of happiness that you have depends on the amount of freedom that you have in your heart. And that kind of freedom in your heart comes from meditation. It can't come from distractions, from the monkey mind and noises and music and all kinds of shit going all over the place. I hear people literally, they live alone. I know they live alone. And the TV's in the background. And they're picking up the phone. It's like it's like you're either watching the TV, and if you're not watching it, turn the damn thing off, or put some high frequency music with beautiful waterfalls and horses running in the mountains, and have something that's ambient. But don't have something that's ambient. But don't like lean into the false idea of company of voices in your house. Like, in other words, leaving the TV on. Don't do that. Because what you're doing is betraying your soul's ability to speak to you in those moments of silence, what we call aha moments, downloads. Those downloads are not going to happen while shit's on the TV. I'll tell you that now. If you have music and all kinds of shit blasting because you don't like silence, then you're afraid of your thoughts, and you better start making silence your ally. I'm being straight up with you. All right, let's continue. I hope you're enjoying this, and then we'll go right into the oracle decks. The greatest freedom are freedoms from regret. Write this down. The greatest freedoms are freedom from regret, freedom from fear, freedom from anxiety, and freedom from sorrow. Regret, freedom from fear, freedom from anxiety, and freedom from sorrow. That's a hell of a mastery. Hang on for a quick second. Only a free person can be a happy person. Only a free person can be a happy person. Chapter 6, the love that springs from insight. The practice of mindfulness leads to concentration and insight. Insight is the fruit of the practice, which can only help us to forgive, to love. In a period of 15 minutes or half an hour, the practice of mindfulness, concentration, and insight can liberate you from your anger and turn you into a loving person. This is the strength of the Dharma, the miracle of the Dharma. Beautiful. A real love letter is made of insight, understanding, and compassion. Otherwise, it is not a love letter. Understanding and compassion. Otherwise, it is not a love letter. Thank you. A true love letter can produce a transformation in the other person, and therefore in the world. But before it produces a transformation in the other person, it has to produce a transformation within you. The time you take to write the letter may be your whole life. Wow. Patience is the mark of a true love. A father has to be patient in order to show his love for his son or daughter. A mother, a son, and a daughter also. If you want to love, you must learn to be patient. If you are not patient, you cannot help the other person. Understanding is the ground of love. If a father and son do not understand each other, they will make each other suffer. So understanding the other is key that unlocks the door to love. Did you hear that? Understanding is the key that unlocks the door to love. So what that means is that if you're in a balanced relationship, one should assume that the other person is desperately trying to understand you, as you are trying desperately to understand them. Not to be right. It's different. It's to understand why this person feels or believes with such passion about a subject that triggers you. So you want to lean in. And it's very difficult to do that. We have not been taught to do that. We want to be understood. But we don't understand that for us to be understood, we have to learn the art of understanding others. And it's interesting if you think about it, because when you start being that person that wants to understand others, they'll actually want to know you because they've never been listened to so actively, so mindfully, ever. And something will spark within them and they will lean forward to find out, who is this person who wants to understand me? The irony is they'll want to understand you. That's the irony and the gift. If understanding is not there, no matter how hard you try, you cannot love. If you say, I have to try to love him, this is nonsense. You have to understand him. And through understanding, you will be able to love him. If we live with the understanding of impermanence, we will cultivate and nurture our love. Only then will it last. That's very true. Every decision we make should be with the understanding that death is on our shoulder. In other words, it's not macabre at all, it's reality. It's reality. Young people die every day. In other words, it's not macabre at all, it's reality. It's reality. Young people die every day, every single day. This idea that we have time with the people we love is an illusion. And that's why we suffer so much. Because shoulda, coulda, woulda. And so when we understand, right, if we live with the understanding of impermanence, we will cultivate and nurture our love. Only then will it last. Exactly. All of the suffering of living beings is our own suffering. We have to see that we are they and they are us. When we see their suffering, an arrow of compassion and love enters our hearts. We can love them, embrace them, and find a way to help. Only then will we not be overwhelmed by despair at their situation or of our own. Unless you know how to love your neighbor, you cannot love God. Before placing an offering on the altar of God, you have to reconcile with your neighbor, because reconciling with your neighbor is to reconcile with God. You can only touch God through his creation, through his creatures. You will not understand what is true love? The love of God, unless you practice the love of humanity. That's brilliant, brilliantly true. Love relieves suffering. Allow yourself to be a torch and allow the flame of your torch to be transmitted to other torches. Practicing like that, you can help peace and joy grow in the entire world. Aho to that. This is the practice. When you become mindful, understanding, and loving, you suffer much less. You begin to feel happy, and the people around you begin to profit from your being there. When you are mindful, you realize that the other person suffers. You see her suffering, and suddenly you don't want her to suffer anymore. It's funny how mindfulness dissolves revengeful thoughts or the joy of seeing someone else's suffering. Oh, good, they divorced. Oh, good, look, he lost his money. No one should want that for someone else. No one should want any harm on anyone else. And yet it's normal when one is young to have those thoughts. It's normal in that it's been normalized. Let's put it that way. And we have to normalize compassion, and we don't. We haven't done it we haven't done that yet. And it's our job to start becoming the light bearers of that truth. Love, compassion, generosity, understanding, fearlessness. If you touch suffering deeply in yourself and in the other person, understanding will arise. When understanding arrives, love and acceptance will also arise, and this will bring the suffering to an end. Do you know what I used to do with clients in my retreat? Love and acceptance will also arise, and this will bring the suffering to an end. Do you know what I used to do with clients in my retreat? I would have people, like 6 people. I would couple them, and they would have to stare in each other's eyes for like 8 minutes. I'd put it on the clock, 8 to 9 minutes. Typically, around 8. Staring each other's eyes for like 8 minutes. I'd put it on the clock, 8 to 9 minutes. Typically, around 8 or 9 minutes. Within 3 minutes, they were crying, staring in each other's eyes, just sobbing, showing each other unbelievable love and compassion just by the silent connection of eye gazing. There's something about our humanity that we have to learn how to embrace and care for. And it's an amazing exercise, especially for lovers, beloveds, who have had fights that are so hard that words can't even breach the chasm of the Grand Canyon. So the exercise for lovers who are going through massive pain and the iciness of rejection is to sit across from each other on the floor and do an eye gazing for like, in that case, I would go 9 minutes and watch the tears just fall. It talk about an icebreaker. I'm not joking. It's massive icebreaker. It's a no fail. All right. All right, let's continue. If respect for the other person is no longer there, true love cannot continue for long. That's very true. If respect for the other person is no longer there, true love cannot continue for long. We're there to build up, not bring down. Exactly. If mindfulness is cultivated in our daily life, if concentration and insight are cultivated in our daily life, we become more open, more tolerant, and our love grows stronger within us. And hang on for a quick second. Reality cannot be described in terms of being and non-being. Being and non-being are notions created by you, exactly like the notions of birth and death, coming and going. If your beloved one can no longer be seen, it does not mean that from being she has become non-being. If you realize this truth about your beloved, you will suffer much less. And if you realize this truth about yourself, you will transcend your fear of dying and of non-being. And if you realize this truth about yourself, you will transcend your fear of dying and of non-being. And that was it. That was from the book Taming the Tiger Within, Meditations on Transforming Difficult Emotions by Thich Nhat Hanh. This man was amazing. Just bloody, he was a light. I'm going to read you the back because it's so amazing. Okay, it's beautiful. If your house is on fire, the most urgent thing to do is to go back and try to put the fire out, not run after the person you believe to be the arsonist. Did you hear that? That's pretty amazing. So, did you hear that? So, you don't go after someone. They must pay. They must see me. They must apologize. So, listen, I'm going to read it to you again. I need you to really listen and close your eyes when I read it. If your house is on fire, the most urgent thing to do is to go back and try to put out the fire, not run after the person who you believe is the arsonist. If you run after the person you suspect has burned your home, your house will burn down while you are chasing him or her. This is not the action of a wise person. You must go back and put out the fire. When you are angry, if you continue to interact with an argument with the other person, if you try to punish him or her, you are acting exactly like someone who runs after the arsonist while their home goes up in flame. Anger and love are both of an organic nature, and thus they both can change. Hate can always be transformed into love. A person who does not have anything to A person who does not have anything to believe in is without energy. When you have the energy of faith in you, your steps become firmer. Your look becomes brighter. You are truly to love, to understand, to help, and to work. I love this book. It's a hell of a book. So worth buying, let me tell you. All right, let's go right into the Oracle deck. We're going into Earth Warrior, the Inner Peace, and the the Mystic of Mary Magdalena by Cheryl Yambrick Rose. Earth Warrior is by Alana Fairchild, and I've already mentioned Unshakable Inner Peace. So I'm just going to pull out a card from Mary of Magdalena, and it's 37, Magdalena's Gift. 37 is 10. 10 is Isis Osiris, the Wheel of Fortune, and it's basically 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 is the sun. I always talk about the sun. It's clarity, it's beauty, it's magic. All right, let me read it to you. 37. I'm going to read to you what it says, the message for that, because this is about you. All right, let me read it to you. 37. I'm going to read to you what it says, the message for that, because this is about you. This is picking up on the energy for you. All right, 37, Magdalena's Gift. Write your story. Weave your thoughts into form through the magic of writing. Feel the universe stream through your body, the pen onto paper. In this way, you are a vehicle of the source field, and your writing will resonate with and connect to other souls. Write. Mary of Magdalena is thought to have written her Gospels during the life of Yeshua and her time in France. Other scholars argue that they were written in Greece during the 2nd century CE. Most agree that the Gospels of Mary Magdalene were written by the same author throughout. Her refreshing take on the teachings, which interjected wisdom of her own, make for interesting reading. They were written for the ordinary people in plain language, but she had a style and inquisitiveness of her own. She was a visionary and wrote of her visions for those who possess an esoteric understanding, with the ears to hear and the eyes to see beyond the words. Some scrolls ended up in the old Languedoc region of southern France and were perhaps in the care of the Cathars and their Church of Love. The Templars managed to sequester the scrolls to 5 different locations. They hid them with the idea that the time would come when the truth would be known without fear and integrated into an evolved society that was ready to embrace the beloveds and equal partnership. It's funny, we've been on this theme. Research with high-end tech magnetic resonance imaging has shown that physical writing and journaling will stimulate your brain more than a tablet or a computer can. Writing by hand increases neural activity in sections of the brain similar to meditation. Journaling can serve as a calming tool for you. It is good exercise for your memory to keep track of your daily thoughts and activities. Do not replace meditation. As for your memory to keep track of your daily thoughts and activities. Do not replace meditation with journaling. Journaling is journaling. Praying is praying. Meditation is listening. Don't mix them, ever. They're completely different modes of consciousness, modes of focus. They're completely different, okay? But what a beautiful card. What a beautiful message. All right, let's go on to the next one. And thank you for spending... Actually, it's the 27th, isn't it, today? Friday the 27th. Beautiful. Again, 27 is 9. There's been a lot of 9s running around. And I'm getting a lot of 144, 414, 441, which is 9, which is a message of our evolution as a people. As many as we can bring to the other side. Our evolution as a people. As many as we can bring to the other side. All right, so this is from the Earth Warriors Oracle Guide by Alana Fairchild. One of my favorite decks is the Kali Oracle deck. This is my second favorite Oracle deck because it gets right to the heart of business. They just told me middle, and I'm pulling middle. 25. Aloha ki akua. Blessing. They just told me middle, and I'm pulling middle. 25. Aloha ki akua. Blessings of the Supreme Being. All right, let's read it. 25 is connected with discrimination and analysis and numerology. It talks about learning from your experiences. It's a number, so if you were born on the 25th of the day, it talks about learning, just learning from experiences. Like you learn, you make mistakes, you learn. You're not going to make the same mistake again. Learning by watching people and gaining wisdom from just life experiences. That means that clearly mistakes would be part of that, wouldn't that? So mistakes are clearly an important aspect of your growth. In other words, this is why being fearless is important, because you shouldn't give a shit if you're going to make a mistake. The minute you make mistakes, you're getting closer to the nectar of your success. As long as you don't make mistakes, you're kind of fucking up, because that means you're not trying. Mistake is a sign of courage. All right, let's continue. 20 again, so 25. Hang on I'm looking at something real quick. Okay. 25. Aloha ki akua. Blessings of the Supreme Being. Looking at something real quick. Okay. 25. Aloha ki akua. Blessings of the Supreme Being. Hawaiian wisdom recognizes that the divine is love. The Supreme Being from which all life emanates manifests a blessing for you. The realm of the heart is love's temple. When you enter the heart, you gain access to the Great One and to mana, the power, authority, grace, and magnetism to manifest your divine destiny. Trust in what is meant for you. Surrender doubt and disconnection in favor of love and respect for the Great One. Surrender doubt and disconnection in favor of love and respect for the Great One, and you shall live your true destiny with joy in your heart. Love can and will conquer all. Inner reading. A blessing is coming to you now. Things do not need to be complicated. When you are confusing yourself with too many variables, too much information, fear and doubt, focus on filling your heart with love instead, and let everything else go. When you open your heart to divine guidance and let go with faith, Spirit will handle all matters in your life. Rather than making you passive, this will inspire you to take only the most helpful actions. This oracle indicates an answered prayer, and the Spirit has you covered in a situation of concern. You are healing and deepening your relationship with the divine. Beautiful. Of concern. You are healing and deepening your relationship with the divine. Beautiful. Okay. let me get another message from you. Beautiful. Let's look at, and I might get another deck. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've read other cards. That's why I keep like these are new, relatively new for me, meaning I've been using them recently is what I mean by that. And relatively new for me, meaning I've been using them recently is what I mean by that. And I just feel like, you know, we need different messages from different conscious beings. We need like different oracle writers. And for a while it was appropriate for me to do a lot of Fairchild, but it feels now I need to bring in other energies. So here we go. This is from, again, I love this deck, Unshakable Inner Peace Oracle by Shannon Kaiser. And I like this deck a lot. I'm shocked at how simple and yet profound it is. I'm going to pull out 3 cards. They're telling me 4, so I'm going to go with what they say. Okay. So, and I'm going to read them to you in order of appearance. So the first card is 5. And it says, to receive, you must release. What can you let go of? What do you want to receive? By the way, 5 in numerology is communications connected to the planet Mercury. And it's all about communication. And so really, what do you want to communicate with clarity to the universe? What exactly do you want to experience? And stop letting your logical mind tell you it's impossible or not logical. Okay? Listen to this. I'm going to read this one. Okay? So 5, to receive, you must release. It can be terrifying to let go of aspects of your life, but it is necessary for your optimal growth. Holding on will only keep you stuck in a state, unfulfilling routine. It may feel as if the world is crumbling around you and everything you've worked for is suddenly falling away. But what is this? Isn't it actually the cause of all? What if everything falling away is removing itself to the new that you can now hold? So it's exactly what we were talking about. You have to be, it's weird, you know, it's normal. And I don't want you to beat yourself up on it. It's normal to want to hold on to what you know. It's normal to fight against impermanence. It's a normal human brainwashing that we've had to live under for a long time. But now it's time for us to trust the impermanence of the bodies that we live in, that we inhabit as spirit souls, multidimensional light beings, and to just ask ourselves, why am I here? I mean, really ask on an esoteric spiritual level. And then be honest with what it says, what the answers are. What I see a lot happening with people is that they'll touch the nectar of truth with fingertips, and it is so overwhelming. It can be quite emotional. In fact, you start sobbing with emotions. And a lot of people run from that. They run back into the cave of ignorance instead of literally leaping into the mosh pit of the unknown and trusting that no matter what happens, they'll always land on their feet, no matter what. Life or death, being or non-being. There is no non-being. It's like going from one door to another, through another hallway. It's as simple as saying, my beloved is no longer on this planet. My beloved is in the other room. But I can still hear their movements, their essence, though I can't see them. It's no different, really. And so it's having that kind of faith. The next card is number 4. And you are the joy seeker. What little victories can you celebrate? So you are the joy seeker. What little victories can you celebrate? The other card, which I can't believe I got, is 23. Prioritize self-love and care. When do you feel most nurtured and cared for? I can't believe I got is 23. Prioritize self-love and care. When do you feel most nurtured and cared for? Did you notice we had number 5? 23 is 5. So the theme here is communicate what you want. Let go so you can receive. And here we're having prioritize self-love and care. When do you feel most nurtured and cared for? Well, probably, I don't know, unless you have somebody fantastic in your life that really gets you. Feel most nurtured and cared for? Well, probably, I don't know, unless you have somebody fantastic in your life that really gets you, right? Who's the best friend you can ever have? Yourself. I'll answer it for yourself. Okay, that's not to be cynical. It's not to put people at arm's difference. Don't mistake what I'm saying. It's to say when you teach yourself how to care for yourself to such a level that you are enough unto yourself, you are now an abundant. You can give and give and give because you always also give to yourself first, not from a place of jealousy or avarice or you know what I mean, or miserly energy, but from a generous point of saying, when I fill my cup overflows and now I can give to everyone. But when I'm squeezed out like a rock and there's nothing left in me, I have nothing else to give. And that's the saddest consciousness to be in. 24 is the last card. 24 is love, money, and power in numerology. It's connected to sex. Sex, which is true. It's connected to sex, but it's connected to love, Venus. It's actually connected to the planet Venus, and love, which co-create, which the desire that God or the creator, however you want to connect to God, universe, the all, it took desire for us to be created. So 24 is about creation. And so here it says, anxiety isn't trying to limit you, but free you from a situation that no longer feels good. What is your discomfort trying to free you from? Did you hear that? So when we have these jobs that give us anxiety, right? These awful jobs that, you know, these beatings and bullshit meetings and all that. What is your body saying when you're going through anxiety? Going to, say, a Christmas dinner with family members that give you anxiety, what does that tell you? And it tells you that you're not honoring what you need. That's not to say avoid this. It's to say maybe it's time to speak your truth so that you can hand that anxiety to them, saying this is actually not even mine. I'm not even good in my skin here. And I need to release what no longer serves me, either here with you, meaning the person or people that create this anxiety in you, or you need to remove yourself from that situation. It's really simple. It's simple, but not simple. Trust me, I understand that. But ultimately, you have to ask yourself, what is my life worth to me? And there are soul contracts. There are situations where you will not be able to leave situations, no matter, even if you want to, because you're not, when that happens, you have to know that you have not learned whatever lesson it is, whatever it is. It could be patience. It could be self-advocacy. It could be, because a lot of people run from, I'm not good with confrontation. I understand, but you are going to move out of this job because you don't like confrontation because the boss sucks, and you're going to move to another job and you're going to have an amazing boss, and 3 months later your boss is going to leave, and here comes a new boss who's the same piece of shit you had before. So the universe is saying you're not learning how to self-advocate. So you can run all you want, but that situation will follow you wherever you go. That means at some point you're going to have to calm your nervous system and make a plan of action to self-advocate. And when you do, and when you win for yourself, you will be released from that. Either the shitty boss will be transferred or fired, or something else will happen, or a new job, because you'd applied for multiple jobs on, interviews, you'll actually get a call from someone saying, the person we hired over you didn't work out, and, we'd like to have you come in. We like to offer you the position. It could happen just like that. So it's kind of like you got to really look at situations instead of feeling like you're being a victim of a situation. Ask yourself every point of these challenges, what am I not learning? And that's not mirror work. That's just, what am I not learning? What tests am I not passing? What am I running from constantly? Why am I running from confrontation. Most people are not comfortable with confrontation at all. And some people, to be honest, have not mastered the art of confrontation, because there is a way to confront people. People, to be honest, have not mastered the art of confrontation, because there is a way to confront people. And they don't know that you just told them to fuck off, but you've done it in such a way that they have no idea that you just told them to fuck off. And you don't have to take people's shit. I'm not kidding. But there's a way to do it diplomatically, so you still look like you hold the reins, you have the power. You don't lose control. And if you're one of these people that cries, no offense, cries because it's so overwhelmingly emotional for you, and you feel overwhelmed by your rage is at being cornered like that, then again, meditation is going to calm your nervous system, so that one day you'll be able to walk into a person's office or a situation in a marriage or whatever, or a parent, and have a real conversation with them that is filled with wisdom, compassion, understanding, and self-advocacy, so that you can actually pass the test, and that situation will no longer haunt you anymore. It will be gone. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let me see. Any questions or comments? Let's see. Yeah, so this, hey, yes, see. So, okay, so I'm gonna, let me see. All right, so let's look at something else to read. Today I read some from the... All right, so let's look at something else to read. Today I read some from the Mary of Magdalena, the Gospel of Mary. And it's pretty intense, to be honest with you. I'm trying to read some of the things. You know, when I've read it, then I'll know what to read out of this. But I'm going to go ahead. Let me get something else, because I want to read to you some other things that I find very interesting and stimulating to the mind and to the body, actually, believe it or not. Okay, so hang on for a quick second. Let me see here. There's so many great writings, so many great minds. There's so many books to explore. It's amazing. And let me see. I found something that I find interesting. There's a couple things. One that is, I don't know if TikTok will let me read it, honestly, but one is Only Love is Real by Brian Weiss, okay? And Brian Weiss is amazing. This book was sent to me by my twin when he declared that we were soulmates. This was before the concept of twin flame had come into our consciousness. All right, so I'm going to read from a little bit of excerpts of this. So the idea of reincarnation contains a most comforting explanation of reality, by means of which Indians, though, surmounts difficulties which baffled the thinkers of Europe. No shit. It's interesting how these belief systems really were eradicated from the Western mind for thousands of years. Incredible, you know? Many times man lives and dies between his two eternities, that race of that soul, and ancient Ireland knew it all, whether men die in his bed or in the rifle knocks him dead. A brief parting from those dear is the worst man has to fear. Though grave diggers' toil is long, sharp their spades, their muscles strong, they but thrust their buried men back in the human mind again. That was Yeats, W.E. Yeats. So I'm not going to read this. I'm realizing, you know why? Because you should buy this book. Only Love is Real. A story of soulmates reuniting. And it is about soulmates, not twin flames. And I'll tell you why. Because it's about how the various ways they incarnated before they met. And it's the story of Brian, who was their doctor. And both of them were coming in and having past life experiences. And at some point he realized, holy shit, they knew each other wait, hang on. Joe and Jill knew each other. They're both my clients. I can't introduce them to each other because if I do, it's an infringement of privacy. I can't do that. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that they're talking about each other in our sessions. That's what this book is about. It's and guess what? One day, this is how the universe works, my friend. One day, something happens with an appointment with one of his clients, and here she is. Her name is Elizabeth. I forgot his name, but let's call him Joe. So Elizabeth is in the waiting room, and Joe and Elizabeth bump into each other and end up talking. And the soul recognition is so deep that they end up coming back together, and it's amazing. It's really incredible. So this is something back together, and it's amazing. It's really incredible. So this is something that you may want to buy, is this book. Now, there's this book I bought it a long time ago. It's called Sex and History by Rhea Tannehill. And she's also the author of Food and History. And from her, I learned incredible wisdoms. I haven't read her books in so long. Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. Let me look at this. My parents had an incredible erotic library when I was a kid, and I had access to whatever the hell I wanted. Nothing was deviant, obviously, but it was amazing. Whatever the hell I wanted. Nothing was deviant, obviously, but it was amazing. This book talks about prehistoric, in the beginning, man into master, the first civilization. It goes into sex and history. I'm not joking, like quite literally. Hang on, let's see if I can read something that won't be damned by TikTok. Hang on, okay? All right, let's begin. Hopefully this will be interesting to you because I think it's interesting. Sex in the social role. Whatever the marital status of Homo habilis and his successors, the condition under which they not only survive but astonishingly progress must at first have favored some kind of communal living. Early man seems to have had a mobile habit of life from necessity as much as from choice. Though he may have inherited the territorial instincts of his forebears, it seems that his brain must have begun to override them. As game grew scarcer and vegetation scantier during periods of climate change, he would find that he had stripped his own sections of the landscape so that it was necessary to move on. Sometimes he may have to dispute a new district with its current inhabitants, and there would be a war. The vanquished being driven out, or, if they were few, incorporated into the tribe of the victors. Now, not until 350 years ago did he begin to settle down, and the reason for it appears to have been a deterioration in the world's climate. For much of the era known as the Pleistocene, I don't even know how to pronounce, Pleistocene, geologically, the last 2 million years, there has been slow fluctuations from pleasant warmth to biting vicious cold. During the worst of the cold spells, glaciers normally confined to high mountains ranges expanded and merged so that sometimes an ice sheet hundreds of feet thick advanced as far south as present-day New York, London, and Kiev. At such times, the 500,000 people who formed the total of the world's early human population congregated in a few temperature regions around the Mediterranean. For example, where there was still something that might have been described as summer. In an area like the Sahara, where, strange as it may seem today, heavy rainfall supported a thriving flora and fauna. Did you hear that? Do you know that in the Sahara they've actually found whale bones? I had no idea. But one branch of the Homo erectus family, in the shape of Peking man, discovered that it was possible to survive almost on the edge of the ice sheets by taking refuge in caves and utilizing something that the emerging human race had never conquered before: fire. It has to be another 250,000 years before cave living became general in Europe. But the new mode of life with warmth, light, and cave living became general in Europe. But the new mode of life with warmth, light, and protection in place of the chill and menacing dark must have had a revolutionary effect on the humanization process. Incredible. Hang on for a quick second. So it goes into the beginnings of humanity and how sexuality developed, and even the changes in what was considered a beautiful body in a woman, and why, which I'm sure you kind of can ascertain. Venus the Willendorf, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The Venus the Willendorf is a fat little creature with pendulous breast, and she doesn't even have a face, but she has like these little curls in her hair. You'll see it in The Witches of Eastwick, if you've ever seen that movie with Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon. And Cher is a sculptor who's creating these massive, huge Venus of Willendorf eventually. And so it's interesting how to be overweight, to have fat around you, was such a desirable thing to have, in that part of the world, because it was so fucking cold. And it became an attractive thing that men liked. And if you can actually look at the Rubens paintings. If you've ever seen Rubens, they're nudes, and they're fleshy women. They have beautiful body. In my opinion, they have beautiful bodies, hips. Fleshy women, they have beautiful body. In my opinion, they have beautiful bodies, hips, thighs, and they're probably 40 pounds overweight, at least. And they're no less beautiful and luscious. And there was something about this freedom, and suddenly, and this is where this is going to impact this concept of self-love, because if you're not comfortable, and very few of us are comfortable in your body, what happens is it's hard for you to forgive yourself, because you might even on a subconscious level feel as if your body betrayed you, because it doesn't conform to society's standard of the day. I mean, look at the Chinese with the feet that were broken in half to make them petite feet. I mean, I think we can all agree that we would do a hard pass on that shit. I'd rather have a size 11 shoe than have a 5.5, or no, actually, what was it? 2.5, 3.5 foot size. I kid you not, for that kind of pain. So what's interesting is when you read books about the beginnings of man as we know it, combining it with the Sumerian tablets that Zachariah Sitchin talks about, with the gods, the Anunnaki gods that created us, and you see sexuality is threading throughout all these stories. It's talked about in the Sumerian tablets. It's talked about in books like this that I'm just reading about in Sex and History, and in the Sumerian tablets. It's talked about in books like this that I'm just reading about in Sex and History, and how it affected how we moved and how we felt about ourselves. And this freedom of the human body and how we felt about ourselves. And this freedom of the human body until, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it, until religion came into play. Up until then, we had freedom, and we were free with our bodies, and we were free with the way we wanted to express ourselves. We would marry when we wanted to. We would divorce when we wanted to. I don't know if you know but this was happening. And then as the patriarchy moved in, it moved in through philosophy and this weird idea, and I don't know where it started, but I know it started with the Greeks as well. It definitely started with the Greeks, this concept of inequality between the genders. And I'll tell you why I know this, because for a while, pedastry was considered normal. Pedastry means taking, it's a polite way of saying mentoring someone that is still in their teens, okay? If you get my drift. And usually they were boys. And men thought it was their duty to have sex with a woman. In other words, it was something that they really wanted to avoid at all costs, and they would do it just to bear children. So women were relegated as cattle. That was it. There's no pleasure in it. And for a very brief time in Greece, for about 100 years, I kid you not, it was about 100 years, and that was it. And if I'm off by 50 years, shoot me. But anyway, by 100 years, there was a period where it was acceptable to desire women. And so that's when the great concubines, the great courtesans came out of that. And I talked about it. Aspasia was one of the most famous ones. It's still talked about today, Aspasia. And she was the bastard issue of a highborn woman who I guess did an oops with the wrong man. She probably married and to another man, so the child was rejected. And this was done a lot. And they would take these highborn children that were, out of wedlock and raise them in these situations where they were raised, educated, highly educated, taught the art of conversation, and then when they came of age, the art of sex. And then they would be in these great halls, these dining halls, and they would entertain these men with conversations, with dancing, with music, with singing, and with philosophical conversations and things of that nature. It was incredible. And for 100 years, and then it went right back to pedastry at some point. It's bizarre. The innate hating of the feminine sex doesn't start with Adam and Eve when she ate the fruit of knowledge. It begins way back before. And so what I find, which fascinates me, is